Hi everyone, this is a solution video for PigzForPetz Part B. Okay, so we're going to write some pseudocode for a procedure called process order that will read the file pigorders.txt. So we're going to be reading a file. The procedure has one parameter, which is a string, and this represents an order ID. The procedure will count how many orders in the file have the same 5-character order ID that is the parameter, this parameter here. So we're going to read the file and we're going to count how many lines of text in the file have the same order ID as the parameter. If the number of orders is greater than 10, then a message "need more piggies" is displayed. We're also told that we can use this built-in function. It's called the write function. And here's an example of how to use the write function. Now, in order to solve part B, we're just going to have to go back and have a look at part A again, because we just need to make sure we understand what's in the file. So here's a sample line of text that's in the file that we're going to be reading, this pigorders.txt. And we can see that the final 5 characters is the order ID. This is the order ID. Okay? So this is the thing that we're going to be comparing with the parameter, and we'll look at that in a moment. Okay? Alright, so let's bring up something to do some typing in. Here we go. Okay. So, we've got a procedure called process order. So let's just start that. This is the subroutines heading. And it has one parameter, which is a string. Okay? So I'm going to call it order ID, and this is a string. Now, of course, this is a procedure, so we don't need to return anything. Now, what we're going to do is count how many orders in the file have the same 5-character order ID as this parameter. So I'm going to declare a variable called count, and that is going to be an integer. And we might declare some more variables later, so I'm just going to leave some space up there. I'm also going to assign 0 to count as we get started. I'm now going to open the file. Now remember, the file is called pigorders.txt, and we're going to open it because we want to read the file. Okay? Now, because we're reading the file, we want to read it line by line. So we're going to use a for loop. Sorry, we're not going to use a for loop. We're going to use a while loop to allow us to go through the file line by line. So this is the pseudocode for this situation. While not end of file, well, which file? Well, it's pigorders.txt. So while we're not at the end of this file, we're going to do something. What we're going to do is we're going to read the file. Well, which file? So we have to be specific, pigorders.txt. And we're going to read it line by line. So every time we read a line in the text file, we're going to store that line in a variable. Okay? So because this is a text file, this is a string. So I'm just going to go back up here and I'm going to declare that, because this is a variable that I am declaring in my program, and it is a string. So when we do that, what we're getting is something that looks like this. Each line looks like this in the file. And we want to take the final 5 characters from each line. So we want to grab that. Okay? And we're going to use the write function to help us do that. So let's do that. I'm going to say ID is assigned right. We're going to use the right function. The string is actually this line that we've taken from the text file, and we're going to take 5 characters. Now let's just declare this up here. It's another string, so I'm just going to put it up there. Okay. Now that we've got those 5 characters stored in a variable, we can compare this ID from the text file with this order ID. And if they're the same, if ID is the same as order ID, then we're going to increment the count. Count is assigned count plus 1. That's all the if statement is doing, and that's all the while loop is doing. So this while loop is going to take us through every line of the file. We're going to read every line. We're going to look at the final 5 characters and compare those final 5 characters with the order ID. And if they're the same, we're going to increment the count, okay? Because that's what we're being asked to do. The procedure will count how many orders in the file have the same 5-character order ID as the parameter. So that's what that code there does. Now then, after we finish processing the file, we can then look at the count, and if the number of orders is greater than 10, so if count is greater than 10, a message "need more piggies" is displayed. So let's use pseudocode output need more piggies. Is there an exclamation mark? I think there is, yeah, exclamation mark. Okay, let's just be as accurate as we can. And that's the end of that if statement. We've finished everything. Let's not forget, before we close the procedure or end the procedure, to close the file. We've opened the file, we've been reading the file, and now we need to close the file. Which file? Well, pigorders.txt. And then we can end our procedure. And that is a solution to PigzForPetz Part B.